Hi, this is Sandeep Gupta, founder of Top 1%, an institute devoted exclusively to the 99th percentile scores on the GRE and the GMAT. When I say the 99th percentile score on the GRE, I mean a score of 335 and above, and that is what my target is for any student who joins me for my classroom or video or online courses for the GRE. In this session, I'm assuming that you have solved the questions as asked by one of my staff members. And if you have solved those questions, I'd illustrate to you what it takes to score in the 99th percentile range on the GRE, that is a score of 335 and above. Let's get started. So let's see the quantitative section first. In the quantitative section, there are 5 different types of questions asked. We will be dealing with each one of these in extreme detail in our regular classes. In this case, you have to choose every single answer that could be correct. So this is a more difficult type of question that is asked. And let's see what we are supposed to do. You are given y to the power 4 is a 2-digit positive odd integer. So y to the power 4. What is the first 2-digit positive odd integer? It is 11. Next 13. Next 15. Like this, I can go up to 99. One mistake that most people do here is that they assume that y is an integer. Nowhere is it mentioned that y is an integer. Y to the power 4 is an integer. So there is a difference. Now the next line, a positive integer n is divisible by y square. So n is a multiple of y square, which simply means y square has to be an integer. If y square is an integer and y to the power 4 is odd, y square must also be odd. Because if there is an even number and I square it, the answer will be even. That means the square of y square is y to the power 4, which is odd. So y square should also be odd, and y square has to be an integer because n is a multiple of y square and n is also an integer. So now let's see what all possibilities exist for y square. Y square could be equal to 1, but y to the power 4 must be a 2-digit odd number. This will not work because 1 square will be 1 itself, that is a single digit number. Y square could be equal to 3, so y to the power 4 will be equal to 9, but 9 is also a single digit number, so even this will not work. Y square could be equal to 5, so y to the power 4 is equal to 25. Y square could be equal to 7, so y to the power 4 equal to 49. This works clearly. And y square could be equal to 9, so y to the power 4 could be equal to 81. This also works. Now, what could be the sum of digits of n? N is a multiple of y square. That means n is a multiple of 5 or multiple of 7 or multiple of 9. If it is a multiple of 5, it could be 5 or 10. If it is 10, 10 is also a multiple of 5. So what is the sum of digits of 10? It is 1. So this is definitely possible. 5 itself is possible. So 5 is possible. Now can I generate 7 from any multiple of 5? Yes, 25. Definitely. So even this is possible. Can I generate 9 from any multiple of 5? Definitely 45. So it is also possible. Can I generate 12 from a multiple of 5? Yes, 75. So it is also possible. Can I generate 13 from a multiple of 5? Definitely 85. This is also possible. Can I generate 17 from a multiple of 5? So now the last multiple of 5 in this scenario will be 95. And 95 is not going to work in this case because 9 plus 5 is 14. So can we try 7? So if I say multiple of 7, so what multiples of 7 could we create so that the sum is 17? Is it possible? So if you say 98 is a multiple of 7 and 9 plus 8 is definitely 17. So even 17 is possible for this answer. So the correct answer to this question will be when you mark all the correct answers. Even if you leave one answer unmarked, you will not get marks. So we definitely can see there are traps in these questions. The simple trap is if you assume y is an integer, then you will feel y to the power 4 must surely be equal to 81. So y square must be 9. If n is a multiple of 9, 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54, 63, 72, 81, 90, everything gives me a sum of 9. So you could have marked 9 as the answer, which is not correct because the first assumption itself is wrong here. Remember, the GRE will award you marks only and only if you mark all the answers and only the correct answers. Alright, I hope you've understood this. So now, there is one concept that you should know. For a given perimeter, the area of a triangle is maximum when the triangle is equilateral. Your given perimeter is 30. Let's try to maximize its area by making it an equilateral triangle. So if I make it an equilateral triangle, the sides of the triangle will become 10, 10 and 10. Now the area of an equilateral triangle is given by root 3 by 4 a square. If you don't remember this formula right now, it's okay, absolutely okay. We'll teach you absolutely everything from absolute basics for all math topics. But right now, this is the formula. So now what will be the area? Let's see. Root 3 by 4 into 10 into 10 is equal to 10 into 10 is 100, 100 by 4 is 25, 25 root 3. 25 root 3 is equal to 25 into 1.7. You can say, I don't want the value of this, but you can think about it. 25 into 2 is 50. So 25 into 1.7 is less than 50. If you want to find out, you can always find somewhere close to 42.5. You have to think about it a little differently now. When the perimeter is 30, the maximum area we can create is 42.5. So if I want the area of a triangle to be 50, can I create with a perimeter of 30 or will I have to increase the perimeter? Obviously with a perimeter of 30, I can create only a maximum of 42.5 roughly. So if I want to create 50, the perimeter will have to be increased. It will become definitely more than 30. I don't know what the value will be. I don't care about it. But with 30, I cannot make up to 50 area. I can make only about 42.5 area. So that means if the area is 50, the perimeter will have to be more than 30. Which means quantity A is more than 30 and quantity B is 30. Finally, quantity A is bigger than quantity B and my answer must be marked as A here. Okay, now let's see the next question. The best way to solve these questions is to take different values for whatever is given to you and to try to create sometimes A to be bigger and sometimes B to be bigger. Let's see, for example, if I take 1, 1 and 1 as the values, I have to make sure 1 square plus 1 square is greater than 1 square. So this is perfectly fine. I can take this. Right now, if I compare 1 to the power 4 plus 1 to the power 4 on the left side and 1 to the power 4 on the right side, definitely greater. Now, let's try to create another set of values that may create a less than sign here. So what could be those values? By hit and try, let's see. If I take values 3, 3 and 4, I must make sure 3 square plus 3 square is greater than 4 square. 9 plus 9 is greater than 16 because 18 is greater than 16. So this is a valid value set. This is also a valid value set. But if I do 3 to the power 4 plus 3 to the power 4 and 4 to the power 4 here, whether this will be bigger or smaller, let's see. 3 to the power 4 is 81. Again 81, 81 plus 81 is 162. 4 to the power 4 is 4 square and square, that is 16 square, that is 256. So I get this less than. So now this creates a contradiction. In some cases the sign is greater than, in some cases the sign is less than. So I cannot say for sure whether quantity A is bigger or quantity B is bigger, and I'll have to mark my answer as D. Now I know what you're thinking. How will I choose these specific values? This is what we will teach in extreme detail in our quantitative classes. This will be taught in the session on inequalities. As of now, even if you have forgotten absolutely everything, you've forgotten even the area of a triangle, you've forgotten what a prime number is, you've forgotten what inequalities are, anything, don't worry about it. It will be taught to you in extreme detail. I have to tell you this. Most people in the world are scared of the verbal section because it is extremely difficult to score in this section. In fact, it is very easy to score the full score in quantitative after very little preparation, but it is very difficult to score even 150 plus in the verbal section. So I have to say this is definitely the more dreaded section of the GRE among almost every test taker. Let's see what it entails. So there are two sections of verbal on your test. Each will have 20 questions. Each section has two things, RC and vocabulary. RC has 10 questions per section. Vocabulary also has 10 questions per section. Now, over the last 2 decades, I have evolved a process called Octave in reading comprehension. And that is one method that can give you 100% accuracy irrespective of the type of RC passage asked. Remember, the content of the passages usually is extremely challenging on the GRE, but this is one method that will give you the answers extremely easily and absolutely accurately, and you can solve the passages very fast also. So this is the process. Octave, the letter O stands for opinion. What we must check is the opinion of the author. That is extremely critical. Now, one or two more things about the opinion. The author of the passage will never have a wavering opinion. Suppose the author says in the passage that the stock market is likely to crash. In the same passage, the author will never say the stock market might not crash. The author may have a very mild opinion that it may happen, or a very strong opinion that it will surely happen, but not a wavering opinion that this may happen also and this may not happen also. There is no way a wavering opinion ever happens. There is one more thing about the opinion. Obviously, opinion is something that is challengeable. So we can challenge an opinion and we can support an opinion. Anything that is given factually, we cannot challenge and we cannot support. So facts cannot be challenged and facts cannot be supported. Now, contradiction words. A lot of passages will have words like but or yet or however or ironically or surprisingly. These words are really important. I'll illustrate them later. By the way, this entire process takes me 10 hours to teach. Right now I'm demonstrating only a very small glimpse of it so that I can explain to you this particular passage. But overall this is way too long. Right now I can't cover all of it. The next thing we should check in a passage is the tone of the passage, whether it is positive or negative or neutral. And when you go to the options, you should avoid any answer that uses a superlative like the word most or best or latest or hardest, etc. And if the passage is talking about something specific, the options cannot be generalized. If the passage is talking about Javan rhino, for example, the passage cannot talk about all animals or any animals. It will have to stick to just what is being talked about in the passage. So avoid something that is specific in the passage but has been generalized in the options. Also, some people do not go back and verify. Please remember, RC is all about precision. It is not about just vague understanding, but precision of matching. And sometimes we just like an answer that, okay, option B will be correct, but it is not so. Please never select an answer. Be sure that you have eliminated 4 wrong answers and the one that is left out after that is the correct answer. This is the brief idea about Octave. Let's see how to actually apply it in the passage. Now think about this line. Now human efforts to save them may well prove futile. May is talking about future, which is obviously not fact, so we'll say this is an opinion. We can say this is definitely negative or pessimistic. Look at the last sentence, thus. Thus means this is the final conclusion of the passage. Human benevolence may prove little better. Now this is the biggest catch in this passage. Right now the opinion in the beginning is pessimistic. So remember, as I just said, the opinion suddenly will not change and become optimistic. So what is the catch here? What is the meaning of little better? It is important here to understand the meaning of the word little. We feel little means somewhat, but little actually means not at all or hardly any or none. That is the meaning of little. If I say he has little money, that is why he is worried about his future, means hardly any money or no money. There is little hope of the patient's recovery, means barely any hope or no hope. If you want to say something positive like somewhat, you have to say a little. I am a little busy today, that is why I cannot meet you. Not I am little busy. I am little busy means I am not busy. So then you should be able to meet the person. So little means not at all or hardly any or none. It is a negative tone word. So even here the tone is pessimistic. This is something that you must understand, and this will be discussed in extreme detail in the sessions on RC. Right now, let's see how to approach. For what purpose does the author include the last sentence of the passage? Again, it is asking about the conclusion or the opinion. Vietnamese herd has better odds of surviving than Indonesian herd. This is factually wrong, because if you go back, Vietnamese herd is probably doomed, means barely any hope of survival. The Indonesian herd may still have sufficient genetic diversity to have a chance at survival. So if one has a better chance, Indonesian one has a slightly better chance than Vietnamese herd, but most probably both are kind of doomed. Let's see, to illustrate that human benevolence can be just as detrimental to the survival of a species. Here the word a species means any animal, not one animal. That is the Javan rhino. A species generalizes. So as I said, avoid anything that is specific in the passage but has been generalized in the options. Definitely not correct. To reinforce the idea that Indonesian herd will not survive. Now, first thing, the author gives a little probability of survival to the Indonesian herd. The second, will is a strong word, whereas the passage is very mild in tone. May. Again the word may. Again the word probably. So, chance. This does not mean this is a strong opinion. This is 180 degrees. Now, the next thing, to support the fact. Remember, as I just said, facts cannot be supported and facts cannot be challenged either. So this is impossible as an answer. And another thing, good actions on part of humans can increase the chances of survival. It is written, it can be little better, means obviously this is factually wrong also. So that leaves me, let's see, to support the contention that the Javan rhino species may not be able to recover from its current state. Perfectly fine, because the author is pessimistic in tone. Now, you may not have chosen this answer, but if you follow Octave completely and correctly, as I'll teach you later, you will never ever go wrong. Do not go by your own intuitions or judgment. You must follow this process. Let's see the next question. Which of the following best expresses the author's attitude towards the likely fate of the Javan rhino? Now this answer is very easy. The author is definitely not slightly optimistic. As I explained, little better does not mean better. Little better means hardly any better or no better or not at all better, which means the author remains pessimistic, futile, and no little better means no better. So definitely this is completely wrong. Resigned to the guaranteed and inevitable extinction. It's very, very clear that some chance at survival is still there. So obviously the author says may, and there is no guarantee. This is too strong an opinion for this. Ambivalent means the author is uncertain. In the morning the author wakes up and feels these species will not survive. In the evening the author feels these species will survive. So very clearly ambivalent is not the right thing, because I have told you in Octave the opinion cannot waver. It is unwavering. So ambivalent means wavering, and that is why automatically wrong. Uncertain also means the same thing. It is not that in the morning the author feels pessimistic and in the evening the author feels optimistic. Clearly not right, and as per the rule of the Octave, this cannot be my answer. Absolutely correct. Pessimistic about the species' chance for survival. This is what we decided. These questions test a slightly different skill. So we'll see what they test. Let's understand. In the first reading, it may not be clear. So let's read part by part. Spacing of 4 holes on fragment of a bone. So that means there is a bone fragment, not a bone, but bone fragment. It has 4 holes on it. The spacing of these 4 holes is just what is required to play third through means 2, third to sixth notes of the diatonic scale. Now what is a diatonic scale? Diatonic scale is the 7-note musical scale. It has 7 notes. The third and the fourth and the fifth and the sixth are exactly the same spacing as this particular bone fragment that they have found. Means this anyway has 7 notes, but these 4 are matching. But this whatever they have found may give a partial proof to the fact that maybe Neanderthals thousands of years ago were using something like this. What will be a proper proof of it? We want to support this hypothesis. The first thing is that the flute that they found, if this had to be a 7-note scale, Right now, we have found a 4-note scale. Whether it was actually a 7-note scale or not, because the bone has been chipped off from either end. So, what would have been the first condition for it to be a 7-note scale? That this bone in its entirety would have been long enough to play all the 7 notes. Imagine if the bone had been shorter than the one required to play all the 7 notes together, then this makes absolutely no sense. Absolutely no sense. So, in this case, we are very clear as to what the answer is, and that is why B. Now this says bone flutes were the only musical instrument made by the Neanderthals. That doesn't tell me whether 3 to 6 will mean all the 7 notes. Absolutely irrelevant once you understand the visual like this. Then again, once this does not tell me anything at all whether this was a 7-note scale or not, the bone fragment. It doesn't make any difference whether this was a 7-note scale or not based on the partial proof. Flutes are again, this doesn't make any sense because it doesn't tell me whether it was a 7-note musical scale or not. Alright, so let's see the next type of questions tested on the GRE, vocabulary based questions. There's a lot of vocabulary tested on this exam. In fact, half of your verbal section is pure vocabulary. There are 2 verbal sections, each of them has 20 questions, and overall that means there are 40 questions. Each verbal section contains 10 questions on RC and 10 questions on vocabulary. Vocabulary is not directly tested, that is direct meaning or synonym or antonym, anything like that is not tested. Everything is tested in sentences, and that makes the usage of the word much more important than just the meaning of the word, because one word can have 3 or 4 or 5 meanings sometimes. You might know just one meaning, so that is what is called secondary meaning of a particular word. That is important. And sometimes there are 3 or 4 words that can mean completely the same thing, but the way they are used in a sentence, they cannot be interchanged with each other. They are called shades or subtleties, as we will understand very soon. Now, generally it is very difficult for people to master vocabulary very quickly, but I have devised an approach called CLESP. I have been teaching this for the last 20 plus years, and this involves 7 different steps that we'll talk about soon. But I guarantee one thing, with that approach you can master 1000 words in 6 hours and another 1000 words in another 6 hours. So before getting into what this seminar is like and how I teach all that, let's understand how to solve these 5 questions. Let's see. A question with 3 blanks is obviously likely to be more challenging. Before actually solving the question, let me just explain what this question is. There is a team or a committee which has many members. For a very long time, they have avoided following certain regulations, but eventually they will probably have to now agree. No matter what, they have avoided for a long time, but they'll have to agree. Why will these people have to agree now? That is the question. This is given here. There is one person who is neither the president now or not even a senior member. Maybe he was the president earlier. He wants those things in practice. So there is no way to avoid these. This is what is being talked about, because the word while also means a contradiction. In this case, yet means a contradiction and still means a contradiction. So let's see. While most members hold an adverse opinion about the plan to comply with long avoided yet recently. So now they can't skip. They have been skipping or avoiding this for a very long time. Adverse means unfavorable. That's not the word we are looking for sure. Shirk means avoid, but they can't avoid anymore. So shirked is not the right word. Ineluctable means something that you cannot avoid any further. You have to face something. So that's the best word that can come here. So this. The board will likely, now they will have to agree, not that they want to agree, but they'll have to agree. Abet means to excite or encourage someone to do something wrong. Definitely not correct. Misappropriate means to give something wrongly to wrong people or distribute something wrongly. Definitely not correct. Acquiesce means reluctantly agree. Even when you don't want to agree but you have to agree, that is acquiesce. And the preposition to is always used with the word acquiesce. So that's the correct answer here. Now why that is so? Because there is someone who wields a lot of influence. Vitiated is something that has been weakened or destroyed or spoilt. So definitely not what you're looking for. Fledgling means someone who is very inexperienced or new or callow without any experience. Obviously that is not what we're looking for. Now tacit is a word that you need to understand very differently. The word tacit means unspoken but implied. Like if you've seen some movies, there's a senior don villain who doesn't have to speak much to influence. one movement of his finger is enough sometimes. So that sort of influence this guy holds. Tacit means implied, unspoken, but very, very powerful in that sense. So he wields tacit influence, and that is why people will have to reluctantly agree with him. This is the meaning. Tough question, no doubt, but the GRE definitely has many such tough questions in which you have to choose two answers. These questions are called sentence equivalence. Out of these six, you have to choose two answers such that both of them can be equivalent to each other. You have to be able to replace them. So now let's see. She had one inviolate, means something unbreakable. Unbreakable rule, that means she did not compromise in this rule while hosting a famous madcap, means completely crazy. What is a revelry? Revelry is a boisterous, loud, drunken kind of celebration, wild partying, you can say. So what kind of people will make her guest list? Dionysian is someone who is into wild and mad partying, so this word definitely fits here. Narcissistic is supposed to be someone who is very egoistic, so will not really even party very hard or not mingle with a group of people. Definitely not what you're looking for. Saturnine is very gloomy, very sad, very dull. Definitely not. Saturnalian, on the other hand, means again someone loving wild partying. So this is one more word. Plutonian means like hell, infernal. Inferno means hell, infernal. Definitely not. Hermetic is something that is completely closed and it does not allow outsiders. Hermetically sealed. So this group was hermetically sealed, means nobody could enter. Obviously, this will not work. How I teach vocabulary. There is an approach that I have developed over the last 20 plus years, and that is called the approach CLESP. It has 7 things in it. Clusters means groups of words, means you have to learn words in groups. Synonyms. Legends means there are stories behind words that can help you remember. Etymology means using roots. Sentences are obviously important to make sentences only because the questions are all in sentences, so it's definitely important. As we just saw, secondary meanings are very important. Shades means subtleties, that means nuances, that means words that are very similar but they cannot be used interchangeably. And as it is said, a picture is worth 1,000 words. There's nothing for me to say. If you can remember a picture related to a word, you can definitely remember the word. Now, this is an absolutely unique approach that is not taught in any other institute in the entire world. This is taught only by us. Using this approach, you can learn 1,000 words in 6 hours. If you want to learn another 1,000 words, you will need another 6 hours. You need another 1,000 words, you need another 6 hours, and so on and so forth. And this is a seminar that is exclusive to our institute. It is not available anywhere else. And more than 1 lakh people have attended this seminar in live events. Alright, now let's see how I actually teach this in a live clip. As I said, I've been teaching this for the last 20 years. And I'm showing you a live clip, a sample video clip of me teaching this, and this was recorded way back in 2004.
Diction is, do I have the exact choice of word for a particular occasion? The moment I say the word big, I can say gigantic, I can say gargantuan, I can say whopping, I can say thumping, I can say landslide, I can say turn around, I can say watershed, I can say enormous, colossal, mammoth, anything. Am I using it for a particular situation? Can I use mammoth illness, or can I use mammoth total by Indian team? Can I say landslide victory, defeat? It's fine, but can I say landslide salary? It's not possible. So diction is the right choice of words. He gets a whopping salary, right usage. The moment I say he gets a gargantuan salary, nobody would actually believe that I know English correctly. The Prime Minister won by a thumping majority. You cannot win by a whopping majority. You will win by a thumping majority only because that is the right usage. Okay, what a colossal waste of time. That is the right usage. You can't say what a gargantuan waste of time, what a gigantic waste of time, what a mammoth waste of time. India posted a mammoth total which the opposite team could not defend. So that is mammoth. It's correctly used. For one word big, if you are going to replace this big by some other word, it has to be the correct word. Talking about nuances. Also, we call them subtleties or shades of meanings. Take words like suppress, oppress, and repress. All of them mean roughly the same thing: to put some force, to subjugate, not let somebody thrive, not let somebody feel free, but they've got different usage. If I say during the American Civil War, the blacks were, I can't say suppressed or repressed, I must say they were oppressed. The moment I say a lot of bureaucracy suppresses creativity or oppresses or represses creativity, I'll have to use the word represses creativity. Bureaucracy represses creativity. But it's bad to suppress certain feelings. So it's an important thing to be able to differentiate between these minute differences, what we call shades and subtleties. One of the options was irony, the second was satire, the third was paradox, and the fourth was sarcasm. Almost similar. What is the difference? If I say irony, irony is something on which I cannot have a lot of control. You might have heard the story of Oedipus. He ends up killing his father and ends up marrying his own mother. And when he comes to know this thing, the mother commits suicide and he blinds himself. Now that is not something that he would have done anything about. That would be irony or irony of fate. Satire is intended. I want to insult somebody, like I gave you the Salman Khan's example a few minutes back. I believe that would be a perfect example of satire. Salman's sartorial elegance makes a killing. It's a satire that he does not wear clothes, leave aside sartorial elegance. Okay, if I say I always lie, is this sentence completely correct by way of logic? Because if I am a liar, I am lying right now. If I am lying right now, if this sentence is a lie, that means I am a truther. This is a paradox. You cannot make such a sentence. Chronos, so I can say chronometer, which can mean watch, because chronos means time. Anachronistic, something that is outdated, something that is not keeping pace with time. Okay, chronicle, a newspaper that gets published time and again, that is daily. A chronic disease that has been existing for a very long time. Juggernaut means a force or a vehicle or a person who just pushes his way through. This comes from the Jagannath Puri Yatra. It is basically the chariot that goes on with a speed and people just come in its way and people die. I can have a word like dogmatic also for it. I can have bullish for it. I can have mulish for it. I can have willful. I can have many more words. I can have intractable. All these cannot be used simultaneously for one blank. It's not possible. Saurav Ganguly was scored by the media for his bad performance. Even this could be the correct sentence. To criticize somebody very badly, I appreciate your doggedness. Because it has got a dog in it. आपने job join किया पहले दिन, while you're going back home, your boss calls you in the office and says, I appreciate your doggedness. This word is a very positive word. If you are dogged in your approach, you're tenacious, you go on doing something, you're very perseverant, and you don't stop, you simply go on.
Alright, welcome back. What did not get covered in the video was pictures. So I'll illustrate them here. Imagine you have some pictures in front of you and there is a story and you can actually remember the meaning of the word using some kind of a mnemonic or a sound device that also can work. Let's see, for example, you have a word like assiduous. And we say assiduous is ass in the dust. A donkey in the dust working very hard. So assiduous means hard working, working very, very hard towards something. That's not all. We'll also learn the sentence making around it, some synonyms and some antonyms, so that you can remember a cluster of words around it. As you will be taught in every verbal session, this is how we go about it, that find this hardworking and perseverant, that is the meaning, and then there are synonyms around it, there are antonyms around it, and there are more antonyms around it, and there is a sentence. So you will be able to learn some 15 to 20 words with just one picture. That's the whole idea. Now let's say the word is plagiarism. We say plays I have written. There is someone who comes to someone else and says Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, Julius Caesar and Macbeth are the plays I have written. Obviously that means someone who is stealing someone else's copyrighted work. So that is plagiarized, as most of us know about it. This is not a very tough word, just as an illustration. And then we learn more words around it and sentences around it. So this way you can learn about 10 to 20 words at a time with just one picture. That's the whole idea. Let's see, for example, I have words like bombast. That's someone speaking, my heart is cast down into the pit of despair, such is the fervency of my angst. In mere moments, a conflagration shall erupt, such as we have never before seen. Obviously, this is a bomb blaster word, so this is the sound mnemonic that you can use. Bombast means bomb blaster words, something like that, and it's so easy to remember. And then again, a lot of synonyms, lot of antonyms plus sentences. So you will have too many words remembered at one go. So this is the idea of clusters with pictures. For example, the word is effusive. Someone saying, "Oh, you look absolutely stunning today. That outfit really sets off your beautiful eyes. Only a genius could dream of such a winning ensemble." Now, effusive, we are giving the mnemonic as he fusses very much, he just talks too much. So, effusive is someone who's expressing his emotions very openly. And then there are synonyms and antonyms plus sentences around this word, so you can learn lots of words at one go. This is the idea of pictures. I'm sure you learned something here as to how vocabulary can be learned. It will be discussed in extensive detail in our classes, but right now you can totally rest assured that you will learn it extremely quickly. Let me just talk about myself for about a minute. Who am I actually? I am someone who has a perfect score on the real GRE, 170 in the verbal section, 170 in the quant section, and 6 in this. And this is my exam date, you can see. I am also someone who has a perfect score on the GMAT, 800, and I teach for this exam as well. And this is my test date here, you can see. I have been teaching for the GRE and the GMAT since 1996. Also, I have been accepted by Harvard, the best university in the world, 3 times, and this is my latest admission offer from Harvard. So very quickly, I have a 340 score on the GRE, 800 on the GMAT, and thrice I've been admitted to Harvard University. I've been teaching since 1996. I have students that have gone to absolutely every possible university that you would ever want to go to. The absolute best in the world, the MITs, the Stanfords, and the Harvards of the world, and everything else. Georgia Tech, Caltech, Berkeley, anything you talk about, absolutely everywhere. And thousands of my students have got the 99th percentile scores on the GRE and the GMAT. This is the admission letter of one of the students, Abhinav Sharma, who got a 339 score on the GRE, and this is what he has to say about what we do and how we teach. Just watch this, please.
I was a student of Sandeep for my GRE preparation. I scored a 339 out of 340 on my GRE. I got accepted into the MBA programs at New York University Stern School of Business and Michigan Ross School of Business with significant scholarships. I'm going to join the MBA program at NYU Stern from August 2016. Before joining Sandeep's course, my score in the GRE Power Prep mock test 1 was just about 290, which was painfully low. When I joined the GRE course, I struggled a lot with verbal, although I was decent at quant. All types of questions in verbal, reading comprehension, sentence completion, and sentence equivalence used to trouble me a lot. In addition, my vocabulary wasn't up to the mark. Sandeep's Octave technique for reading comprehension was magic. Within just about a couple of weeks, I reached an accuracy of almost 100% with Octave. Sandeep's pictogram technique for vocabulary was unbelievable. His special sessions on Master 1000 words in 6 hours were so sensational that I learned more than 3000 words in less than about a week. In something like a month's time, my accuracy reached 95% on questions based on vocabulary. In the second mock test, I scored a perfect 340. I scored a 339 on my actual test. I was overjoyed to jump from 290 to 339. I didn't find anything unusual on my GRE exam. Not a single question was unfamiliar. In fact, I could finish both of my verbal sections in just about 18 to 20 minutes flat. I would really like to thank Sandeep for helping me change my life and helping me get into the school of my dreams. All I can say is that if you're a serious GRE taker, there is no better teacher than Sandeep.
So this is my final message to you. Start your preparation today because your scores are valid for 5 years. Now, whether you're applying for MBA, that is management, or you're applying for data science, or you're applying for any kind of engineering or technology, or any of the other courses, economics, you want to apply for finance, it is applicable to such a wide variety of courses in the US and Canada, and you can hold your scores for 5 years. Because the admission process is quite complex and long, so you'll have to focus a lot there. So what is the best solution? Just finish your GRE as soon as possible. All right, so this is it from me. This is Sandeep Gupta, founder of Top 1%, signing off. Thank you very much.